Namaste, Jai Hind everyone. Welcome to MMK The Eagle View. Today we are going to see a very important update on the Middle East. When we speak about Middle East, the first thing which comes into the mind is Iran, then a war-battered country like Iraq, Saudi, so the various power centers, and the Shia versus Sunni divide and the conflicts which have been going on for years now. So Middle East is currently under boil. We have seen a war which was very intense and which continues to be very intense, the conflict between Hamas and Israel, which had a fallout in the neighboring countries and which was well managed diplomatically by all the nations responsible. But eventually it spread out in Red Sea, where we saw Houthis, Yemeni-based militants targeting civilian ships, the merchant ships in Red Sea. Two of those ships have been attacked. One, which was Pluto, just coming inwards to India, which was attacked by a drone. Subsequently, it was escorted back to Indian shores by the Indian Coast Guard and the Indian Navy. Now, a new development has come up, which is it's a kind of an update, not a new development as such. We all know Iran has been moving ahead with its nuclear program, and because of which it was heavily sanctioned. It was literally isolated globally by US. The sanctions have been going on since 2010 all the way till 2015. One more time the sanctions got renewed. Post renewal, Iran continued the nuclear program in terms of weaponizing the nuclear missile program. There were sanctions, there were relief, there was leverage, there was negotiation, it was on and off, it was going on. Trump eventually handled Iran in a very different way. He had certain agreement with Russia, he engaged with Russians. That's how this entire conflict was avoided. Simultaneously, he had this Abrahamic Accord with two very conflicting nations, very diversely or enigmatic nations. One is between Saudi and Israel. They wanted to settle down Iran. So ultimate objective of this is for the US to shift its focus to Indo-Pacific region. Especially the Republican Party strongly believes that China is their enemy and China needs to be contained. So a threat to US in mainland, elsewhere in the world, the 850 plus military bases in the world, predominantly comes from China. So that's the way they have identified their enemy. So now the Biden administration also has started realizing that this is going to be a war which has to be fought in the Indo-Pacific region. The next power struggle or Cold War or whatever way we can see, WW 3.0, everything is focused on Indo-Pacific region. That's why we have been leveraging this. We are the sweet spot. Hats off to our diplomats, hats off to our government. We have been managing it really well. Now what is happening right now is it's not a good news. It's not a good Merry Christmas for America, precisely to be for the Joe Biden administration. So there is an article which has been posted in New York Post, where it has clearly said that Iran, which already had 60% enriched uranium, you can see this map, you can see three legends there. One which shows the nuclear mine where you extract uranium and plutonium. So this is an uranium mine which Iran has it already, and it also has the supply of this from the other rogue nations like North Korea and Pakistan. So one is their own mine, uranium mine, and other is lateral supply from all these rogue nations, which they have ways and means of getting it. Second, now this uranium has to be enriched. Now you can see the various civilian nuclear sites there, and there is one military site right in the heart of Iran, which actually does this enrichment. Now the third thing, you see the military bases which is close to the Azerbaijan, the northwest border of Iran. So these three things put together, what it has, we can see that nuclear travel of Iran, it started 20 years back. And subsequently, there were various cat and mouse game which was going on. Couple of the Iranian nuclear scientists, father of Iran's nuclear program, was shot dead or in a way assassinated by The Western intelligence agencies like CIA, even Mossad didn't take responsibility, but eventually there was some bombing, very strange bombing. The top generals were taken who were involved in this. The top diplomats were taken off. So this was the war which was going on for quite some time. But Iran steadily progressed in this journey, even though there were it's one of the country which has got the severe US sanctions next to North Korea. So that's the way it was, but Iran slowly opened up its window, and eventually an axis was formed between Iran, Russia and China, because for all these three countries, the single largest enemy for them, or the common enemy for them, is US and its allies. So to be precise, more precise, it's US. So this axis helps each other. Iran is the second largest producer and exporter of crude oil. China is the largest importer of crude oil. There is another leading country in the world which produces crude oil and natural gas, that's Russia. So two suppliers and one major buyer. So this was an axis which was formed, and we too had a leverage of buying Iranian oil. Instead of using petrodollars, we traded off in rupees. But eventually there was huge sanctions threat for India. We eventually stopped it. We diversified our oil supply to countries like Russia and Venezuela. Today we are secured in terms of our energy security thanks to the right policies and right decisions taken at the right time by our government. Now coming back to this, so they have a mine, they have a source of uranium, they have this centrifuge, you can see it in the picture. There are three major centrifuges which Iran already has. So till about 6 months before, they already achieved a 60% enrichment of uranium using this centrifuge. Now from 60%, it has gone up to 90%. So 90% enriched uranium is good enough to initiate a nuclear chain reaction, which means 90% uranium is a weapon grade uranium. Now they have the weapon grade uranium in place. They have the technical know-hows of how to build a nuclear bomb through Pakistan, North Korea and China, and obviously Russia. And they have the delivery mechanism, which are the missiles. They have hypersonic missiles, they've tested it, they have pioneered themselves in UAVs, and they have enough of Russian fighter jets as well. So they can deliver it via a missile, a long range missile, a ballistic or a cruise or a hypersonic missile. They can as well do it with drones, maybe a tactical nuclear device, or they can go for a conventional method of delivery. So they do have a delivery mechanism, but not definitely submarines and sea-based launch. But they have the first strike capability. We are not sure about the second strike, but definitely they have the first strike capability to go ahead. Now, the Atomic Energy Commission says, which periodically goes and audits all the nuclear sites of the world. Predominantly, the idea of this organization doing an audit is to prevent a nation from building a nuclear weapon from a civil nuclear facility. So this audit, they have said that in the last year's audit, Iran didn't cooperate much. A lot of places they were not allowed to access. And going by their report, which says that we have a situation right now where they can produce one nuclear warhead in a matter of 7 days, 2 by a matter of a month, 5 by a matter of 2 months, 7, 11 and 12 nuclear warheads in a matter of 5 months. 12 nuclear warheads with a very volatile country like Iran, which has got enemies all over, which has got a very serious role to play in geopolitics, can go with 12 nuclear warheads in less than 5 months. This is definitely not a Merry Christmas for Joe Biden. And what has happened exactly? So if you think of US, their movies reflect the era of the US administration. If you look at movies of 70s and 80s, 80s and 90s, you can clearly see all these Hollywood movies glorifying and reflecting the American way of handling terror, the American way of handling democracy. There is a dictator in the Middle East, and then he kills a lot of people. Then the Americans enter, they kind of rescue it, and then they kill the dictator and eventually reinstate or instate democracy there. So that's the blueprint of it. But the fundamental thing which America has built itself in its DNA or in its perception, we would say, America means attack. If a country tries to do anything against US will always do a preemptive strike. We have seen it in Iraq, we have seen it in Syria, we have seen it in Vietnam, we have seen it in Korea. Almost everywhere in the world in the past 70 to 80 years, we have seen US going and hitting the enemy first rather than the enemy doing something and US reacting. But if you look at the 3-4 conflicts in the past 4 years, precisely in Biden's administration, they said we will defend Ukraine at any cost. Now, who is the aggressor here? Russia. Now, when Israel-Hamas conflict happened, they said we will defend Israel. So, who is the aggressor here? It is Hamas. Now, with Taiwan and China, they say we will defend Taiwan at any cost, which means who is the aggressor here? It's China. If you look at Yemen, Syria, they said we will defend US military installations, we will defend US military bases. Who is the aggressor here? It's either it is Hezbollah, is it Hamas, it is Houthis. All three are proxies of Iran. So it is the thought process of US have changed completely, and they have been defending their allies, they're defending their own military installations in the past 3 to 4 years, whereas their DNA is to go and do a preemptive strike. This is where Iran has read US correctly, that they are not going to have a direct kinetic war with us. That's not going to happen. So we will keep pushing the nuclear program, and we will not be afraid or threatened. We should not be threatened or bothered by a threat of US direct military intervention inside Iran. So they have been taking their nuclear scientists, they have been taking their cutting off nuclear supplies, they have been going after those suppliers, but eventually Iran has got everything to build a nuclear weapon now, and their nuclear weapon would be ready by as early as Jan 2024 with a total count of 12 warheads in a matter of 5 months, which is May 2024. Now this is a big miss as far as US is concerned. The top security establishment, including Joe Biden, Jack, their NSA, and Blinken, all these guys have clearly missed out one thing, that they have been talking and there is a relief which has been given. They eventually have failed to stop Iran going nuclear. That's the crux of the story. Now let's see what implications it will have on Middle East and the global politics in the coming years. If one of a Middle East nation, like especially Iran, has gone nuclear, right? It has gone nuclear. So there is a new Armageddon which is forming up in the Middle East. Now who is threatened by Iran? It is Saudi. Even though they have a deal brokered by China, the deal is very, very fragile. They have issues with UAE, they have serious issues with Israel, they call them devils, and the Abrahamic Accord, which was signed, which is effectively in place, has taken a backseat because of the latest Hamas-Israel concept, the conflict. Eventually, if you see, it's kind of looking programmed now. Now they are sounded it that yes, we have a nuclear weapon. And Iran conventionally goes into that, because being a smaller nation, one aircraft carrier, a battle group of US is enough to take on Iran. It is not such a big country or with a large number of fighting force. Yes, they have modernized their fighting force, no doubts about it. But they are not capable enough, or they don't have the kinetic strength or an economic strength to go and fight such a mighty country like America. But the moment you have the nuclear weapon, it changes the game completely. It is like I am tied up with a good amount of explosive on my body, and then I put my pistol up in my throat and then I threaten you. Even though you may be so powerful, but if it's going to put a trigger, I am going to explode. Anyway, I am going to get killed. It eventually is going to hurt you really very, very badly. So that's a strategy they have adopted now. This completely changes the dynamic for US. Now either how do US and especially Israel can deal with this? Do a preemptive strike, take a military action, destroy their nuclear capability. Option number one. Second is to sit on the negotiation table. Iran has clearly fallen into the hands of Russia. It is like kind of controlled by Putin now. So he is having a last laugh, and that's why when in the last public appearance he takes questions from people. He does it once in a year. He was sounding very very confident. He was speaking a lot of geopolitics, and then simultaneously you see the other side of US Republicans. Always wanted to engage with Russia. Republicans have identified that the real threat for America is China, not Russia. That's why one of the front runner for presidential elections for Republic, Vivek Ramaswamy, had said that I will engage with Russia. I will, end the conflict in Ukraine. We will have a solution, and our focus need to be China because China is the greatest threat for America. China is going to be our enemy. So now this entire thing complexes the situation. America, if at all they have to stop this, they need to sit and talk with Putin. They have to end the conflict in Ukraine, which means kind of sacrificing Zelensky or part of territories which is like the Russian speaking territories in Ukraine, which anyway which is in the control of Russia now, to end the war there, and simultaneously reduce this evil axis which they named, which is Iran, Russia and China. Because this has got a serious impact on US directly, and a lesser serious impact on its allies as well. So things are getting very complex. Now China is sitting and enjoying all this story because they are getting time to breathe, to modernize their military force, to close the gap between the US and China in terms of military capabilities, in terms of economy. There is a lot of internal resentment. We just spoke about their atomic testing adventures, the nuclear weapon testing adventures Xi Jinping is taken over, because there are a lot of internal disturbances. We'll speak about it separately. Now, clearly, America wants to disengage itself from every part of the world and focus only on the Indo-Pacific region. Now, these two wars have kind of postponed it by like 3 to 4 years. 2020, this should have eventually happened. We should have been seeing Quad nations, military exercises, war gaming in the Bay of Bengal, in the Indo-Pacific region, but that all got postponed or it got delayed because after the exit of America from Afghanistan, we saw a war coming up in between Russia and Ukraine. So Americans are focusing on there, and then we have this smaller conflicts like Azerbaijan. We have a bigger conflict between Israel. America is focused here. So one more country, their biggest enemy, becoming a nuclear capable country, kind of changes the dynamics. So whether they are going to do a preemptive strike, or first of all whether Iran is going to announce formally that we are a nuclear capable country now, will change the dynamics. Israel will also have to find ways and means for its survival. It's already a nuclear capable country, but they have not announced it. It's called Samson. They have openly not announced Samson, but they will also have to. This arms race in the Middle East is going to heat up, which is definitely not a good news for 2024 for any of the countries, because what's happening there will increase the fuel prices across the globe, will increase the cost of almost everything that we consume, will get a lot of countries into inflation, and will actually make a lot of countries go bankrupt. So it's a very, very complex situation. 2024 is going to be a very, very eventful year as far as the geopolitics is concerned. Stay tuned. We'll continue with our updates. Please do like, share, subscribe, and do share these videos because a lot of efforts go in to research all this stuff and to present it to yourself. We have a very big team who work behind this, behind the scenes. So on behalf of them, I request you all to share, like this video, and subscribe our channel. Thank you all. Jai Hind.